Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis, and I'm going to be joined by David Eckert from the Clarion Ledger in just a second. But I do want to let you know the Grove Collective has started their March to Victory campaign. It's a March Madness style, regional bracket style current tournament that pits regions of the country against each other to donate money to Ole Miss. Check them out at thegrovecollective.com/March to Victory. David, man, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Stephen. It's been a minute. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I haven't talked to you since before the game against Penn State, before the Peach Bowl, whenever we kind of outed you as a Penn State grad, man.
I know. I was trying to keep it under wraps. I think I did okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I kept it pretty on the down low, but definitely some, I got a few messages, but all good.
Yeah, it's a situation like the Locked On Penn State guy. Just so you know, like I was doing crossovers with them in the lead up to the game, and I asked him a question. It's like, hey, how do you think that Penn State's going to be dealing with the tempo like Ole Miss is running at? You don't see that very often in the Big Ten. And he honestly didn't understand the question. It was such a foreign concept to him. And then we saw how the game went, and it's like, okay, that makes sense.
It is very, very different. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. The corn-fed offensive line and 3 yards in a cloud of dust maybe doesn't match up well with the modern SEC offenses, as we found out.
But, yes, it is quite interesting indeed. But hey, how about Ole Miss like surprise starting spring practice?
Yeah, that was wild. I had actually I was supposed to have off. I think it was a Tuesday. And they were like, yeah, Lane's going to do a Zoom conference in about 45 minutes. I was like, oh, I guess I don't have off today anymore. But yeah, so I guess the deal there was they were originally planning to just start it after spring break. Ole Miss's spring break is this week. But the players had kind of, they just like kind of took the temperature and said, hey, like we would benefit from a couple more, maybe less formal, less serious type of, or not serious, less contact type of practices. So they went for it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, but I think the date was like there's another Morgan Wallen concert, is there not?
There is, yes. Thankfully, Stephen, away baseball weekend, which is fantastic because when I tell you that I did not enjoy getting to the ballpark last year during that weekend, so.
Yeah, but with that happening, that it was going to be a situation like a year ago to where the spring game happened and they had a couple extra practices they could go to. Mm-hmm. These acclimation practices, this kind of allows them to do that, have walkthroughs and continue their brand, because it's pretty cool, because practicing football is not fun. Anybody that's ever practiced football can tell you that. But Ole Miss's brand right now is kind of fun, and it means practice less. It means fire extinguishers on the sideline. Everything that they put out is like, hey, come to Ole Miss. It's kind of a fun experience.
Yeah, and I think that is, look, I'm sure that they are having fun, but I think that's very intentional on Ole Miss's part. In fact, I know, they've put a lot of time, effort, and money, I think most importantly, and they've got some really talented people who are, behind what you're seeing there. I wrote about it a little bit last year. So, yeah, that's definitely, I think Ole Miss would be pleased that you think that, that fans see their players having fun, because, look, they want to fish where the fish are, right? And the fish are on social media watching practice videos. And, if you're a transfer portal linebacker, and it looks like Ole Miss is having a great time, you're more likely to consider Ole Miss. So it's important. Well, it sounds trivial, but it's not.
I talked to Daquan Wright over the weekend, and he mentioned that what was going on, because he was supposed to visit Ole Miss in mid-December and it got canceled. It was one of those things where it looked like one or the other had moved on from each other. But he watched the Peach Bowl. He saw the team having all the fun. He saw all of that. He saw Caden Prescorn go off. And then shortly thereafter, he's visiting Ole Miss. He's committed to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss got a tight end out of that situation off of that brand.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It is, on the list of things that are the most important, like it's right up there. And, it sounds silly, but it's just incredibly impactful and really, I'm not entirely sure who kind of made the decision to go all in with that administratively. You'd assume Keith Carter had some say there, but whoever that was, obviously great call because it's really working.
Yeah, and so spring practice has started, and Jackson Dart is, let's just say, limited. I think that's the way I phrased it the other day, limited. And it's not a situation where any Ole Miss fan needs to worry about Jackson Dart. But I've termed what is going on as the Cold War between Austin Simmons and Walker Howard, because the 2025 quarterback competition, it's not hot right now. It's not heated up, but this spring is going to go a long way in positioning those two quarterbacks for who replaces Jackson Dart.
Yeah, and it'll probably go a long way toward convincing the head coach not to go get a transfer portal quarterback like he usually does. So yeah, definitely. I mean, hugely important for those guys, 100%. Especially Walker Howard, because I think if you're Austin Simmons, you don't win the job next time it comes open. Like, is it good for your stock and your future? No, but you can probably withstand that. Wait out Walker Howard or whoever. It's impossible to project that far. But if you're Walker Howard, like, you probably need to be a starting quarterback somewhere next season. So definitely really important for both those guys.
Yeah, and I saw something on social media. Is Walker Howard dating Lane's daughter?
Oh, Steven. I have no idea. I saw the TikTok.
I saw it. It's like, what's going on? Is this Friday Night Lights? Is this what's happening?
I dare not touch it. I have no idea.
Does Matt Saracen know this is going on?
Like I said, here's me with a 10-foot pole. Nowhere
not touch it.
Yeah,
it's like, good gosh. It was just a situation. And Ole Miss social media, I'm gonna tell you, it's not toxic like Florida State or Tennessee social media, or even Mississippi State social media can be ridiculous too. But Ole Miss's social media can be weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, just like, I don't know. I almost kind of enjoy like discovering unhinged corners of the internet. In my last job, I helped run a message board, and that was really easy because like, it's just what insanity is in front of me today. But yeah, definitely some crazy stuff. I definitely laugh at a lot of it, and just try to stay out of it as much as possible. So
it was just a weird story. Like, it's like, what is going on and why are we talking about it? And so let's talk about this. I did a show this morning that involved is Ole Miss's championship window longer than we thought? And the story that Ole Miss is going all in on this season is that wishful thinking by the rivals. And here's my thought. I think there's 3 10-pole positions in football. You can't win without them. You need a quarterback, you need a defensive line, and you need wide receivers in modern football. Other than that, you can kind of cherry pick and you can do the transfer portal, which Ole Miss seemingly does every single year anyway. So when you hear this national narrative that Ole Miss is going all in on 2024, which I'm as victim, I agree with that as well. They're definitely going to do what they need to do and trying to maximize this team. This isn't a situation where it's a 1-year playoff or bust type situation, though, right?
I don't think so. I mean, having talked to some people about this, I think the hope from Ole Miss's perspective is, let's put as many resources into 2024 as we can, with the hope that becomes a launching pad, not with the hope that, here's 2024, and we're just doing it in 2024, and that's going to be it. They view the expanded playoff, and it's easier to make a statement within that expanded playoff. So they view that as a chance to say, okay, we can elevate our status a little bit here in a way that maybe we wouldn't otherwise have had the opportunity to do. And so I think the Ole Miss strategy is, if you invest as much as possible in 2024, maybe your brand changes a little bit. You become more of a household name, and you don't have to invest as much in 2025 and 2026, to get the guys in to make those runs again. So, then I guess, like, looking at it personnel wise, I mean, that's hard. You just, because you don't know. Like, we thought we would know what this roster would look like, 6 months ago coming into 2024, and it's just wildly different from what any of us could have thought. So it's really hard to project. But to concisely answer your question, no, I don't think it's just 2024 and then we'll reevaluate. I think it's, how can we use 2024 to best position Ole Miss in the future?
Okay. What do you think about Chris Beard suggesting that fans should get a refund?
I think that he probably did not run that one by the boss, but but look, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot that Chris Beard could say after that, because looks like just pathetic. I mean,
it was horrible.
There's nothing else to say. So you could tell that he was upset, that he was maybe not saying all of the right things in the way that coaches usually do when they are centered. So yeah, I mean, he even said, like, I think it might have been Chuck asked him, hey, Jamin Brakefield said he wants to come back. Musa Cisse still has eligibility. Like, are they going to be back? And I think Beard's response to that was, don't speak when you're upset, is what he said. So, or some version of that. So he was not a happy camper, but yeah, I mean, I would be very surprised if there's any sort of, like, actual refund. I don't know the rules, but maybe. You never know.
Hey, did you watch the LSU South Carolina game, women's basketball?
I did. How about that? That was wild.
Yeah, that's like Malice in the Palace, man.
I know.
The person hurtling over the scores table. I was like, what are you thinking, man?
Yeah, they had one of those at Southern Miss this year too, like fan coming in to like partake in the fight type of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wild.
It's like, what was the mindset there? And what's with, like, a guy that's like, hey, I'm going to step up on this woman. And it's like, no, that's not what you do.
No, I don't know. It's emotions, man. They make people do crazy things,
I think I had a tweet on that one. It's like, this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, it was a shame, because I thought it was, like, as a whole, like, a really good week of basketball. I was really entertained. I mean, the Tennessee South Carolina game was incredible. I thought the Ole Miss LSU semifinal was really good too, and that game looked like a great game coming down to the wire until it kind of got undone. So definitely a shame.
All right, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. David Eckert, Clarion Ledger, what have you got going on this week, bud?
Yeah, writing a lot of basketball this week. So got a kind of a story. It'll be out Tuesday morning, kind of about why it went wrong down the stretch. Got some insight there, and then I'll be in Nashville. So have all your SEC tournament coverage. We'll see if Ole Miss can turn it around and maybe make a run. So
before we get out of here, is Coach Yo and the Lady Rebs going to avoid that 8-9 line?
I think they should, but yeah, I'm going to say yes. I think safely 7. Personally, I'd probably have them around a 6. I don't think Charlie Cream agrees with me, but yeah, I think so.
All right. Take care, buddy. And thank you a lot. And I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thanks, Steven.